Hey, I'm Deidre Detterman, host of the Do It My Way podcast, where we empower women business owners and CEOs to do business on their terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. I'm obsessed with all things marketing. I started my career in television, and I remember sitting in countless meetings, listening to executives talk about things that needed to change, but they never did. I was always thinking, what if we did it my way? Once I became an entrepreneur and I started living life on my terms, working the hours I want to work, making the money I want to make, I started to feel success. I was finally in control of my destiny. I hope you will join me on this journey discovering how you can do it your way. You're going to love my next guest, Heather Turner. She wears a million hats, from being an entrepreneur to being a mom to heading up CORE for the state of Oklahoma. Find out how serving others has brought her so much success. Heather, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am thrilled to see you again. Yes. I loved what you came and shared with the Jinx Chamber of Commerce just last year, and you did such a great job. You inspired so many. We got such great feedback. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Today.
Well, the first time I met you, and I don't know if you remember this, we were at Building All Children fundraiser, and I want to say, yes, it might have been her first or second. It was like, I think it might have been the first that she did, and she had me speaking, and then you came on stage and you were leading worship and singing.
I forgot about that just now.
Yeah,
I love that.
Because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I think I met her at the Jinx Chamber thing, and I'm like, no, we had met a couple years before at that. Anyway, you're an amazing singer. And when I started looking through your bio, I mean, I knew a lot about you at the Jinx Chamber. I see you everywhere, in town doing things. But when I started to research, I'm like, girl, you wear a lot of hats. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to read this to you because I'm going to get your reaction. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Speaker, coach, trainer, singer, author, entrepreneur, executive director of CORE, and mom to 2 teenage boys.
That's right.
How's that possible?
With Jesus.
I mean, Jesus take the wheel.
That's
for
right.
sure.
That's right. I kind of like to be going.
Yeah.
I like to be highly productive, and that means with relationships and in community. And my mom was raised on a farm, and so we were kind of raised there's no such thing as being bored. There's always something to do that adds value, that contributes to other people. And so I'm just very motivated to get out and do work. So even if I wasn't doing all of the things with the State Department of Commerce, then I'd be doing more in the community in some other way. I just like to stay busy, I think. And I don't even like to use the word busy. I like to say productive.
Very productive.
Yeah.
You're such a bright, shining light. Anytime you're anywhere, I mean, you really are. I saw you at another fundraiser. I'm trying to think if it was Alzheimer's or something that we were at together. And you just are. You're just one of those people. You're a magnet. People, gravitate to you. And if you can use that for good, that's amazing. I mean, you found your strengths and what you're able to do. So tell me this, of all those hats that you wear and all those titles that I just named, what has been your favorite?
Oh, man. I sure love being a mom.
Yeah.
I love developing potential in people, and it's really fun to see that happen with your own children and to see them kind of find the things that make them tick, and then to challenge them to see what God has for them in this next season and stage, and how they can use that in service of others. And so I love that part. I love being a wife. I've got a great husband. That's the other thing that keeps me really...
High school sweethearts,
yes,
right? Did I read that?
Yes.
That's unusual. That's impressive.
We got our matching Jordans because it's our 23rd anniversary year this year.
We just did 24.
Did
so
you? Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I love that. And I love leading people. So I just think I care about people, and it's just really fun to help people fulfill their potential. And it's, of course, very rewarding to see that in your children. So
18, your son, you have 18, and then what's your other son?
And then 16 and a half. They're a year and a half apart.
Oh my goodness.
Aiden and Mason. One just finished his junior year at Regent Prep.
Nice.
And then one just is almost finished on Tuesday with his sophomore year, so he'll be a junior at Jinx.
Okay.
So one at Jinx and one at Regent Prep.
Nice.
And they're just so much fun. Aiden plays basketball and soccer, and is great. And then Mason plays actually for the Tulsa Oilers team league.
Oh, he does.
Hockey, yes. And
Hockey.
he's so great
Very
at it.
cool.
Yeah. And it's so fun to watch him. And he's got a little site also online where he edits clothes. He buys vintage clothes.
Oh, really?
Edits them and sells them, and he has a little shop and
like on Instagram,
like online. Yeah,
okay, that's impressive.
So it's just it's fun to see, their different skill sets and strengths kind of start to come out more and more as they get a little bit older. So.
And being a boy mom is so fun. I mean, boys love their mamas for sure. Yeah. And I'm sure you're every weekend that you're off, you're at a sport and you're at the basketball court or on a field somewhere.
Absolutely.
And all that.
Lots of basketball games. We just finished soccer.
Yeah.
And then I think we've got AAU games tomorrow and hockey every Saturday. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I try to make as many games as possible. And I was just telling a girlfriend of mine this morning, she's got three daughters, and she was like, I'm just trying to balance getting to everybody's things. And I said, here's what I would say as a mom who works a lot, but I work a lot in service of our state, but also of our community. And I think when you're working with purpose, it's just talking with your kids and saying, hey, I'm going to make every possible game I can because you're my priority. But sometimes if I have to miss something, I'm going to talk to you about why, hey, today I'm serving in this way. And it serves our family and it serves you in a different capacity, maybe not by being on the bench and watching your game today or watching your practice today, but it's serving our family and our community in a different way. And I think that's important for children to see. Like, our worlds don't always revolve around your schedule, and maybe that's a healthy thing. Maybe that's me being biased because I am a person who's super driven. But we do I would say I make 90% of their games. But there are certain ones that if I have to miss, we just talk to him about it. And
life happens, and even I'm sure your friend with 3 kids, you can't make it to all the games because they overlap.
Right? You have to divide and conquer.
And so and I think kids seeing their mom in an entrepreneurial role, in serving the state, doing everything you do in church, all the things that they see, that's shaping them along the way because you're a great example.
I hope so. My parents they exampled serving and contributing always. They were doing hospital ministry and Bible studies, and they would go on Saturdays and deliver food, like donuts and stuff to kiddos in the not as well-to-do neighborhoods in Oklahoma City, and pick up kids and do breakfast on Sundays and just different things like that my whole life. It was just exampled that we're not here to be served, but we're here to serve. And so find a way to do that that adds value to someone else and shows that you value them, and don't always get it right, but really, really try to do that every day.
That's amazing. So what did you want to be growing up? You grew up in Oklahoma City before going to TU,
That's right.
correct?
That's
so what were your dreams when you were younger?
Oh, I wanted to be a singer, 100%.
Yeah.
My mom,
be on stage, be Taylor Swift or...
Well, at that point, I'm old, so it was Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. That was and my mom was the church choir director, and so I started singing really young. She had us harmonizing really young. When we'd be in the car.
Did you guys all sing?
Well, my sister sings some too.
Okay.
But my mom always, we always had music on, a lot of gospel music growing up, but also, some pop and R&B type of music. And so we just grew up in the car. Anytime we were in the car, we would be listening to music. She'd say, Heather, pick out the tenor part, pick out the alto part, just make you.
I'm glad I wasn't in that family because I'd be like, what? What?
Yeah.
Was she a music teacher or did she just love music?
She just loved music, and she grew up in a big family. My mom has 14, is number 11 of 14 siblings.
Oh my goodness.
And so grew up on a farm, like I said, so very hardworking, and then they just are all pretty musical. And so she was the church choir director, and she just, from a young age, find the harmony part, this is what. And so I learned a lot, loved singing growing up, and I planned to go into either music ministry or hope to be able to do something from a professional perspective in singing. And my high school counselor, she was like, Heather, how are you going to go to college? And I said, well, I want to go for music. She said, do you have a portfolio ready? Do you have a repertoire? And I was like, no. She was like, have you taken lessons? No. Okay. Well, she introduced me to my first vocal coach, Sharon. And and she said, you've got to go take lessons. And in Oklahoma City, like 62nd Street, I think, Southwest Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And so I went to that lesson, and my teacher said, okay, you've got talent, but we've got to develop it into skill if you want to get a scholarship. And that's really what she helped me do. She took me to I was age 16 or 17. So I just had about a year of lessons. She got me a repertoire created, took me to all the auditions for different colleges, and that's how I paid to go to University of Tulsa on a vocal scholarship.
So great.
And so first one in my immediate family to go to college, and my parents were like, "Are you sure you want a music degree?" You know,
right?
And I started out vocal performance. If Tulsa people, they may know about Light Opera Oklahoma. That was Gilbert and Sullivan. My freshman year, I auditioned for that and got to be part of that. And when I was part of that, I realized, all of the leads, everyone was from all over the nation. The two main leads were from New York. They were the only two. They were married to each other. No one else was married that I was getting to know all these people, and I loved all the people, and I loved being on stage, and I loved just all of it. But what I learned at that time is they're going to do this for 3 months. So was I. You do it over a summer, 3 shows. It's 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. I think I got paid $1,500 for the whole summer.
Oh, yeah.
And they were all going to go to the next city and audition and find their next gig.
And just keep going.
And just keep kind of going. And they were excited about that. And I was like, I kind of like to build, I like to put down roots, and I like to build things. I'm not going to maybe be as excited about moving every few months, or, going wherever the work was. And that was a big realization for me. And that I just cried and cried. I thought, I'm not a serious musician then if I'm not all in just for performance.
Right.
And I talked to the then dean of music, Frank Ryan, and he said, well, do you like people more or music more? And I was like, well, I like both. He was like, well, which one that would you rather spend
That's
time?
an interesting question. Yeah.
With your instrument, or would you rather spend time with people? And I was like, well, ideally people with my instrument.
Right.
And so he said, well, why don't you consider teaching? You can still be a serious musician and teach. And that's when I added music education my second year at TU. And that's really what changed the trajectory of kind of my career, because then I went on to teach public school music for 7 years, and then of course opened Anthem Road Academy after that. And
let's talk about that. So you grew that to 4 locations. So you became an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Did you go in it by yourself, or did you have a partner? Or
I went in it by myself.
Okay.
So I was teaching public school, and I loved it. I wanted more flexibility. And when you're a music teacher, you're usually the only one on the campus. It's very hard to have somebody else cover your class.
Can't step in. Right.
And so early mornings, especially when I was teaching high school, 6 a.m., I assisted the band actually. And so you're out on the football field early mornings, and then you teach all 8 classes a day, about a 20-minute lunch break. So if you have a music teacher, thank them. That's are working a lot of their heinies off.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, after school duties and all of this stuff. And so actually, when I first started teaching public school, I thought this would be perfect when I'm a mom.
Right.
They can just have my schedule. But actually, I didn't have any flexibility to go and be the secret reader, or be part of the PTA, the field trips. These things actually didn't have a lot of flexibility for that. And so I didn't want to give up doing what I loved, but I wanted to be more accessible for my kiddos. They were toddlers at the time, I think 2 and 3. And so I was teaching piano and voice lessons right after school every day. And I had 19 students. And so I said, hey, if I do this and I'm not teaching here at the school anymore, will you stick with me? And all of them said yes. Yeah. And so I went and resigned. And that was really hard because I loved it. I remember just crying, but I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And I really thought, I'm just going to teach lessons, get my kids through a few more years. And then when they're like in elementary school, and maybe a little bit older elementary school, then I'll go back. Well, what happened instead is just a few months in, I was like, it's not super efficient for me to be driving to everyone's house to teach lessons, or for them to come to my house. They were coming to my house, but I had toddlers, remember?
Right. So kids are running around.
Yes, like, Mom, whatever. And so my husband and I prayed about it, found a little space on Main Street, Jinx, and kind of jumped all in. I remember actually like anointing the door with Dr. Pepper because that's all I had, and like praying over the space and being like, God, if this is your will. And Monty Dunham, who's now passed just this last year, owned the building. He took a chance on me. I didn't have a proven concept, which, in business is usually pretty important. I didn't have tax returns to show, that I could do this. And he let me take on a 1-year lease, and now 14 years later and 4 locations later.
Oh my goodness.
So it was just, I started with those 19 students. And then the first year we were over 100. The second year we had 200 and a waiting list. And then we pulled everyone, grew to the Bixby location, scaled with systems and processes and culture and all the things that go into scaling a business, which were scary, and made that happen. And then took that location onto Memorial, which became our largest location. It's got 8 teaching classrooms that can go on at once. And it grew, it like quadrupled in size within like 6 months or something once we moved on to Memorial. So I just learned a lot about location, the importance of that traffic pattern. John Roth, which he owns Yale Cleaners, and he was like, go to the library. You can go in the back parts of the library, get some data, pull that for all this
on
information.
Locations. Yes.
So that's what I did. I didn't have a lot of money. I did a lot of research, and then as that grew, then the Broken Arrow, we pulled where's everybody coming from, what makes the most sense for the next location. Then it was Broken Arrow, and then it was like we were constantly renting places or finding venues for performances and showcases, and doing different camps and things like that for theater and for rock bands and stuff. And we needed more space. And so that's when we opened our Anthem Road Live, which is a black box theater on Main Street, Jinx now. So that's our 4th location. And then we started doing some online lessons, of course, during COVID, which expanded us to reach a lot of different states. And then we had some teachers move to Edmond, so we started doing mobile music in Edmond. And so that's kind of how it all came about.
That is great.
God blessed it. We brought on some really great people, and the rest is history. And it's all about character first. I just always try to hire character first. Of course, musicianship is key, but character more than anything else, because you're going to have them in a room with another person, influencing their life every
and they represent you.
That's right. Right. And hopefully they represent someone other than me, but yes.
Right.
Yes.
So at what point did you say, okay, this is getting too big. I can't run it. I mean, I can't be the one teaching all the music anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to have people underneath me. Tell me about that transition, because I think that's really hard for entrepreneurs to step back and say, you know what? I'm not the smartest in the room. There's other people that can do
100%.
Maybe better than me.
Yeah.
And I need to be the visionary, the leader.
Yeah.
So stepping back from things. So walk through that.
So I knew we needed diversity in instrumental specialty. So right out the gate, I understood I don't have to be the know-it-all for all these different instruments. And so, in other words, I'm not a
You're
violinist.
Not the expert. Yeah.
No, but I needed to hire a really good violinist. I'm not a guitar player. I had to pass that proficiency, but I'm not a guitar player. But I needed to hire a good. So the first step in that was just understanding that the leader does not have to know everything. And it's actually great if you're honest about that. Say, guess what? I don't know.
Right.
You're the expert as a violinist. I'm not. But these are some things that I can help you be successful in. And as long as my goal in life is to help you be successful, then that ended up being a really strong relationship. And in doing that, when they had great experiences working with us at Anthem Road, and then called Abbey Road when we very first started, which that's a whole nother story, I'm happy to dive into. But I think when they had great experiences, then they told their friends, and that's how we expanded the team. And then
which is huge.
Yeah.
If you're doing a good job, word of mouth is your best referral.
It is.
Right?
And they help you refer other, talented people hang out with talented people. People of high character hang out with people of high character. And so when you're recruiting, if you hire really quality people, they'll help you, if they have a good experience, recruit other high quality people. So that's how we grew the team. And then as far as leadership and me being able to take on less students and spend more time with administration and leading and marketing and developing. I would just say I didn't stop developing people. I just stopped. I wasn't developing as many students as the business grew, and I was developing more teachers and staff administrators and leaders. And so that's kind of how that transition took place. And I started out with one part-time administrator. Her name was Maggie. And I was like, Maggie, I can only give you like 15 hours a week or something. That's all I could afford.
Right.
And then as we grew, okay, now when we expanded to 2 locations, now we need just one of the teachers. I think it was Andrew. Andrew, can you help us do some administrative work just to keep, scheduling and billing and things like that working, answering the phones. And that gives you some solid hours while you're also building your teaching schedule. Okay, so we kind of started that way. And then, okay, we grew. Now we can expand those hours. When we grew the 3rd location, now we've got systems and processes, and now we have training materials, and we have priorities and what we do every single day at every location. So as we brought on new people, now they're just being trained on our culture, our values, and how we take care of customers, and how we take care of families, and how we take care of the teachers that sign on to be with us. And so really that's how it grew. And then we hired a general manager, and Destiny Dillon is our general manager, and she's doing an amazing job.
To this day, she's still there. Yep.
And that's how I was able to take up less space. And I would say for entrepreneurs, the thing that you have to do, which is hard to do, I cried over it because I love teaching and I love the people, and I'm of course bought in 100% to the vision of really adding value and helping students fulfill their potential. I realized that my job was no longer just to invest in students, but to invest in other people. And for the business to grow, I needed to actually take up less space and allow other people opportunity to grow and take up more space. And that's a
great way to say it.
It's a hard transition, but it's very important, and it empowers people, and it gives you longevity because if you have really strong people, they need to have a place to grow. And if you're taking up all the space, they're going to realize that there's nowhere for them to grow here. And
they'll go somewhere else. Yeah.
So that's still something, one of the hardest things I probably ever had to do was I was teaching, when I took the chamber job, I was teaching 23 worship pastors from all over the United States. I just taught worship pastors at that point.
Oh, that's fun.
And I loved it. But I knew it was time. I knew I was needing a new challenge. I had already really developed some other people that were taking care of most of the day-to-day. And at that point, I had gone back to school. I have an MBA. And
okay, so you went and got your MBA after?
Yes.
Like later on.
I was 40. I went in 2020.
Yeah.
And really,
that's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, everyone's sitting around. It's like, that's actually a great time.
I was like, well, things had changed, and we went online for a while. Then we went hybrid, and I'd always wanted to go back, and it was always like, when's the right time? You've got young kids, all these different things. And actually Dr. Matt Bowler, who's the director of the Spears School of Business.
Yeah, because you went to OSU. That's right. I saw that.
He encouraged me. He was like, you need to go for it. And so I did, and I loved it. I'm a lifetime learner. I love reading. I love staying informed and learning, and it was a great program. And anyway, all that to say, while I was doing that, I really worked myself more and more out of my own job, so to speak, in a lot of ways. And it kind of pushed me to do that. But I got to see leaders throughout our organization really step up. And that was kind of my prayer. Lord, help the right people step up and the wrong people step out. And that sometimes is a scary prayer to pray. Because then when people step out, you're like, what's happening or whatever. But it was the right prayer to pray, and God has blessed it, and I'm so grateful.
I think we've had some transition at D2 as well. And at the time, it seems like just the world's falling apart.
Yeah.
And then I look back and go, that was a blessing.
Yeah.
You didn't realize at the time that's what needed to happen, but because it seems chaotic, but then you're like, that actually was a blessing. And, which is great. And I think getting your MBA after you have already been an entrepreneur, that's much more valuable because you're understanding real life stuff of what you did. If you had gone right after college.
I wouldn't have known what I was doing.
It's not going to resonate the same as you're like, oh, okay, now that I know what they're talking about there, and I dealt with that, or,
I was able to just put everything that I was learning into practice right then in real time. And I think that's so valuable. I mean, everything, whether it was organizational leadership, scorecards, all of these different things that you go through, financial reporting, all of this, I was like, oh, I can improve my process in this way. Let's do it right now.
That's great.
And so that was such a blessing. And I feel like because of that, it kind of solidified some of those teachings because I'm practicing it,
Right. Okay, so Anthem, do you own it today or have you sold? Okay, still the owner, sole owner.
Yep.
And it's just doing its thing.
It's doing its thing.
Beautiful. As an entrepreneur, that's the goal.
Yes.
Like if you can step away and do what you love and what you want to do, and you still love that.
Oh, yeah.
But your legacy is still going.
Isn't that
is
like
impressive.
wild? Well,
It's
and
impressive.
it's not, when I started it, I never thought I would ever do something outside of it. I love it,
Right.
and I still love it. But I think what I found is I crave growth. It's like, it's energy to me to be learning and growing and to find new ways to contribute. I like to feel that challenge. And I was feeling that. And I also, it's just probably deep inside me to never hold somebody else back. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you learn as an entrepreneur and as a leader, again, like if you take up all the space in the room, and then you could have some incredibly talented people, but they're going to need, if they're really incredibly talented and they're driven, they're going to need some place to grow into. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited that I'm able to see other people fulfill their potential and grow into leadership. And it's fun to see Destiny. She's still an incredible teacher, but it's fun to see her growing into, I had that same conversation. Now you're not just developing students, and that's beautiful and that's wonderful and that's our mission, but you're now also developing teachers and leaders so that they can duplicate that investment. And that's a beautiful and rewarding way to spend your time.
So then you were Jinx president or Jinx Chamber president.
Yes.
So explain that to me because that's totally different.
How'd that go?
Right? Because music, creativity to that, Jinx Chamber. So how did that
happen? Okay, so I finished the MBA program and I actually thought I'm going to open a nonprofit. So I got the MBA program and I also did the graduate degree in nonprofit business. And I thought the name of it, On-Ramp. But then I looked around and I was like, I think there's another on-ramp. So if I open this nonprofit, I'm going to have to change the name.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so I thought, though, I'd probably open a nonprofit to support. I wrote a book called Dream Traders back in 2018. And why that matters is just, it was about helping people make the trades that matter in different seasons and stages of their life and career. And because my life had been so completely transformed by making some important trades in my life and career, I just like helping other people do that too. And so many of the teachers that we were bringing on to Anthem Road were right out of college. And so they had a lot of common questions. And honestly, what ended up as a book just started out as a journal. It was just me writing down common questions.
Explain Dream Traders. What do you mean by trades?
So I mean, you may have the most talent. You may have two people equally talented. And one of them is willing to trade watching TV and kind of zoning out and maybe scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. They're willing to trade that for continuing their education, for building their network, for investing intentionally in the lives of others, for contributing. Great. And the other one is just as talented, but just making different trades with their time. And so one is going to be, more likely to succeed, not because they started out with different socioeconomic backgrounds, not because they have different level of talent or capacity. It's literally just the trades they're willing to make. And
I love that. That's such a great analogy. My kids need to hear that. I'm going to go home and tell my kids that.
Well, there's a student curriculum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really. I mean, I think as, my daughter just graduated from OU. She's looking for a job right now. And those are kind of the conversations I'm having. I'm like, what's important to you? If it's important to you, you've got to invest time. Yeah. And, just like you can be scrolling on Instagram all day or you could be on LinkedIn looking at jobs.
Does your activity align with your vision?
Goal.
Yeah. And so I love this kind of stuff. So the book, I'll just give you one. Yeah. But for your daughter. But that's where it came out of. And I say that because how did that then turn into the chamber? Well, I got very involved civically. It started doing some speaking engagements through that. I went through the John Maxwell Leadership Program.
I saw that.
After that,
he's the best.
I love him.
I mean, you learned from the best. I do want to dive into that and kind of your biggest takeaway and
absolutely. So went through that. I signed up for his mentorship program. Just kind of went through some things because I wanted to learn and grow, and I didn't want to get siloed. And one of the other truths is a lot of people looked at my role as a music school owner as, oh, well, that's just a creative. It's a business like any other business. It has the same organizational challenges and staffing and human resources and finance and accounting and everything.
You have 4 locations.
It's negotiation skills. It's the same thing as any other. Every industry has a lot of things in common, skills that are transferable. But I wanted to learn from other industries. I wanted to get, of course, some education. And so from the business perspective, which is why I did that. Well, while I did that, I also was serving as on the board of directors for the Jinx Chamber of Commerce. And then I was chair of the board in 2020 when everything was crazy, and went through that process and then remained on the board. And I was also serving on the Jinx Public Schools Foundation board and actually served as public relations director and then as the chair of business development, and then vice president and then president of the board for the Jinx Public Schools Foundation. So I just gotten really engaged kind of in the community and just found ways to, how can I contribute? That might just be like Anthem Road provides free music for all of these community events, which is what we did. Anthem Road provides free music for, different events for the school, provides sound equipment for hometown huddle and entertainment and things like that. Just find what do I have in my hands and how can I contribute and add value? And really for people looking to get civically involved, I would just say, what do you have? And
it's great advice, because you can always give your stuff. Maybe you're not given a big check, but you had resources through the music school.
That's right.
That's great.
So whatever resources you have, what can you do? And then don't always ask for something in return. Just do it because it's the right thing to do, and you have it to contribute. And so really, that's how I got really involved. And of course, I had a business on Main Street and care greatly about entrepreneurship and care greatly about revitalization for Main Street and for everyone to succeed.
And look now.
It's so cool.
It's amazing. You should be so proud.
So what happened is really Josh, my predecessor, called me to lunch one day and said, hey, I'm going to take a role in Broken Arrow, and just kind of let me know that. And I went home and talked to my hubby about it. And he was like, Heather, this is like perfect for you. And I was like, okay, but I was going to start this nonprofit. Right. He was like, why do you always have to do things the hard way? Right. Start from scratch, and scratch. And so he said, you need to put your name in the hat. You're going to regret it if you don't. And so I reached out to Josh and said, hey, I think I'm going to put my name in the hat. So I went through the whole process. You interview with the board of directors and then with some city councilors, because the chamber has contracts with the city. And anyway, obviously that worked out, and I had created a strategic plan when I went in. I just went in with some ideas.
That's the difference between you and everybody else, right? Most people would go in an interview and they're going to have all their past that they talk about. You went in with a plan of what you could do with Jinx. That's a huge advantage of you doing that. I think of that. That's something with interviews. People come in or they'll ask, oh, well, now what do you guys do? And I'm like, if you didn't Google this before and figure out what we do, I don't have time.
You're right.
So you were forward thinking and said, hey, I have a plan.
Yes.
I'm going to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, thank you. I enjoy that, strategy and growth, setting growth trajectories and then simplifying steps to get there. That's maybe one of my very favorite things to do. And so I presented that, and that got approved. And then I started working with the city council on renegotiating some of the contracts for economic development, for community development, for marketing and promotion. They didn't have a marketing and promotion budget before I was there. And so there's a lot of tourism and things like that they wanted to happen, but they needed marketing. There was a $0 line item. And
Crazy.
And so I just explained it from a business perspective. Most businesses, spend around 5% to 7% of their annual revenue on marketing. And so so why don't we start with 1%? And that's actually how we started it, and got some dollars so that we could start doing some tourism videos and some promotion of different things happening in the city of Jinx, and promoting the businesses already there, as well as hopefully what's to come and what the goals were. And so that's kind of what happened. And that went on, and I loved it. We grew in revenue and in membership, and of course in our contracts as well. But we grew in really every category, and it's not a testament to anything special for me. It's just in any organization, Destiny right now, who's my general manager, she's going to have ideas I didn't have, because she has a little bit different lens to look at things through, right? And so I learned so much from Josh, and still learn from him, still a friend with him today. But then I just had a little bit different business perspective because of my background.
Well, you were a small business owner in Jinx. You're the perfect person, to be at the chamber. And I think Jinx has so much momentum right now.
Oh my gosh.
I love driving through there because we live out there, and I love driving, through Main Street, and Cedar and Lily is one of my clients, so I'm there every week, and it's just fun to see some really great businesses going in there, and it's hopping down there. It's pretty fun.
It's real. Isn't that beautiful to see how much it's changed just in the last 5 years, but
so much,
especially in the last 15. Yeah. So it's so exciting. I love it. I love seeing the progress, and also building those relationships. When I first started Anthem Road, there was for years, we had a family in the name. His name was Jimmy Harris, was the dad, and he had cancer. And so we did a little taco, Eat Tacos, Make Music benefit. And I tell you, I think about every single business on Main Street Jinx supported that fundraiser for them. And what that meant is he and his 2 sons could take music lessons for free. And we did that until he passed on. And then for more years after that.
That's great.
And that just shows you,
people care.
People care. These are your neighbors. These are people you're going to sit next to at a football game, and they're people who, when you're in need, if you've invested in that relationship, gosh, they're going to come through for you. And so I love small business. I love all business, but there's something special about Main Street, and
definitely,
and about those relationships that you can build, just kind of rubbing shoulders with each other, rolling up your sleeves. And sometimes it's, cleaning the rust off of trash cans. We did that, and we sprayed, all the different things. But so it's been a really beautiful experience. I have special place in my heart for Jinx.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so I have to know how this went down. Yeah. So you get a call from Governor Kevin Stitt to come work for the state. So tell me about what you're doing with CORE, and just how that all went down.
Absolutely. So I got a call from his headhunter, who said, "Hey, someone gave me your name." And I said, "For what?" And he said, well, to be the director of commerce for the State Department for Oklahoma. And I said, "Now what now?" And I have to shout this person out, because Shannon Wilburn gave my name without even telling me about it. And I love
She's such a
that.
great person.
Don't you love a person?
She was my first podcast interview, just so you know, before I even had anything. Like, Shannon, will you come be on my podcast? I don't know what I'm doing, but I want you to come be on.
Love her.
She is.
So fun thing about Shannon, I'm going to take you a tiny bit back with Shannon. So Shannon, the business name was first Abbey Road Academy.
Okay.
And 6 years into owning the business, I got a cease and desist from Abbey Road, London, from Universal Music Group, who owns Abbey Road Studios in London.
Oh my gosh. You're like, how did you find me way over here?
Yeah. Tiny little music school on Main Street Jinx, and not recording and distribution, just so everybody knows, not recording and distribution, but education. But we got a 12-page letter. So I guess we had gotten enough traction online.
Momentum. I mean, you're like, I kind of made it if they're finding me.
That's right. And so I got this letter, and I was in a Bible study with Sally Mulready and several other friends, and they said, "Oh, you need to meet Shannon. She has a franchise. She knows some things about this trademark and all of this." So I met Shannon. We went to coffee at Deuce's, and she said, "Oh, next week or something, I'm going to Philadelphia for the Unconference. Why don't you come with me?" We met one time, and then I went and stayed in a hotel with her. and and went to the unconference and just learned from other people that were like, oh, it's not that big a deal. You're going to get through this. And I called Universal Music Group's attorney because I couldn't afford an attorney.
Right.
And said, hey, they gave me 9 days to change my name, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, how about 9 months?
Right.
And they negotiated with me to do that because obviously there was no point in me going and trying to fight. You know, they have much deeper pockets.
Right.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Could have easily put me out of business just in legal fees. So made that transition, and that was 8 years ago or something like that, 9 years ago with Shannon.
That's amazing.
We went to that conference together. She's such an angel, and just became a great friend and a mentor. Anyway, all these years go by, and she knew the chief of staff for the governor, which was Brandon Tatum at the time. And she had told him about me. And I just love a person who speaks highly of other people when they're not in their presence.
Yes.
I think it's so common maybe for people to do the opposite of that, but it shows a lot of courage and a lot of integrity when you find someone who speaks highly of other people when they're not in the room. And so I'm so thankful for her.
I love
and
that.
also just a
I
woman.
didn't know that story.
Yeah, and just most people don't. And they think like I grew up with Stitt or something. I didn't.
Right.
I think he's a great governor. I'm humbled and honored to be in this role, but actually this came about with a woman supporting another woman when she wasn't in the room.
I love that. That's what this is all about too, empowering women. So this is great.
So I love that. I get to surprise you with that. So
Yay.
So that's how I got the call. And then what happens from there is I went and interviewed with the governor and the chief of staff and the secretary of state.
That's a little intimidating.
And so,
right?
So you go into it was at the governor's mansion, and they had a bunch of questions. And of course, I came prepared. I showed the different projects that we were working on in the city of Jinx, about $1 billion worth of projects at that time. Of course, the mall being the largest project. And
he has Gateway, so he knew what was going on in Jinx.
That's right. He knew what was going on. Yeah, we had several TIF districts. I'm really proud of the work that we did on that because we still took care of the schools. And the schools are the heart of Jinx. And so that was really important. And anyway, so I was able to kind of share with them what we had accomplished, how we had grown the organization, but also the plans for the city and how those were coming to fruition. And so kind of the chief of staff told me, or maybe it was Corbin, the head hunter, Corbin McGuire, said, if he likes you, then you'll probably know by the end of the day. And so I got a call at the end of the day, and they were like, I think it's a good fit. Can you come back tomorrow and meet with a bunch of legislators? And I said, sure. And so it was about 8 hours of interviews with different different legislators and everything. And they said, okay, if they kind of observe you do that, the chief of staff kind of goes along with you to see how you're interacting with everyone, I guess. And then they said, okay, if that goes well, then just know we're going to want to make an announcement because now everybody will kind of know. So you can't really keep it under wraps.
So this was quick.
This is very quick. And so I said, let me talk to my board.
Right.
City of, with Jinx. And I called an emergency board meeting and said, hey, guys, this is happening, but I'm not confirmed. I don't know what will happen,
Right.
Because you have to go through confirmation for that first appointment. And so actually that was pretty arduous. They were awesome. The board was like, we support you. This is amazing. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not resigning unless I get confirmed. So we're good. But if you'll just be flexible with me through this whole session. And this was in April of last year. And so then I didn't get a hearing because the governor and the Senate were kind of going back and forth on some things. They wanted to change commerce and the structure, which they did. They passed a bill the last day of session that created core and edge.
Oh,
so that brings us then to what happened next. So then the governor's like, okay, what are we going to do now? And he's thinking through it. And then I get a call from the chief of staff that says, will you lead the core division? You don't have to go through the confirmation to do that. And then the governor ended up making me deputy CEO, which was like acting CEO and executive director of CORE. And what's under CORE? And I just want our audience to know.
Right.
Okay, so CORE is community development and then outreach, revitalization, and enterprise. And it's really the farmer, which makes sense for me because I grew up with my mom on the farm. But it's really just cultivating relationships and cultivating environments where businesses can grow and thrive. And so it's working with business owners like yourself who are already investing in the state of Oklahoma intentionally, who are already providing jobs. And so thank you to all of you who are doing that. And it's really building that infrastructure. So community development is the largest department in Commerce, and it is under core. And it's all of those ARPA dollars, PREP dollars that go, that infrastructure, physical infrastructure. So water, sewer, some road work, things like that to make sure you can even support residents and businesses within a community. So if you don't have water, you can't have businesses, for example. And then they also provide community services. There's several different block grants that go through community development, which I didn't know about before I was in this role, but things like nutrition for senior citizens. We feed about 195,000 senior citizens in Tulsa region alone.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? You wouldn't even know.
No.
And so quality of life, the state Head Start program, which is really important.
Love Head Start.
Yeah, and for getting people back to work and making people able to go to work because they have childcare options, and that goes through Commerce. There's a lot that goes through. About 25 different federal grant programs go through the Department of Commerce. And so that's a really important part. And then rural development and regional development. So we have field workers, our field staff who are all over the state, who serve our regional and rural development partners. And so they are there to educate, to help with business retention and expansion, especially, but also some attraction. But their focus really is on expansion, retention, education, and then resourcing. So they say, oh, this community has this need. Guess what? The state or the federal government
can provide
has this.
That. That's great. Because there's so much to know. There's stuff I don't even know.
Oh, I didn't know in my previous role, all the tools that I had access to.
That's great.
And so it's really great to just, okay, what are your needs? Oh, here's a resource, and we help bring that to you. Also under core is film and music, which makes me, what in the world? Like, how did God do that? It's like all the things I love.
Yeah, well, it's like
perfect
for you.
It's literally development. It's outreach, revitalization.
Yes.
So film and music is under core. It's an incredible industry.
So bringing films here to and there are a ton.
There's a ton, and right now in
the
Tulsa,
last 5-10 years, it's crazy.
So many. Well, and right now in Tulsa, being filmed is The Sensitive Kind. That's a FX series with lots of stars in it. That'll come out, I think, probably next year. But that's happening 1,500 jobs in Tulsa now because of that.
That's so great.
Really cool. 39 film friendly. That means they have at least 10 sites that they can do productions in. 39 communities across the state that are film friendly. So that's under core. And then Main Street. So earlier you mentioned some revitalization. Well, we have revitalization dollars for Main Street districts. We have 50 designated.
For Jinx, for Broken Arrow, for Main Street, anywhere?
So any Main Street that becomes part of the program, which they can do for free. They can apply for $50,000 matching dollars for revitalization projects.
Nice.
For other it could be a pocket park, it could be a community center, it could be lighting for your main street, it could be trash receptacles or cleanup for anything. It has to benefit the whole street. It can't just benefit one private business.
Right.
But $50,000, $100,000, and then up to $150,000 of matching dollars. So, which is
great.
$300,000.
Yes, can make a big difference.
Yeah, and so especially think about rural communities.
Oh yeah,
where maybe they can put a little skin in the game. They really need that extra support to get that project done. And so that's a tool that I got to actually create along with the Oklahoma Development Finance Authority, because our Main Street program was incredible with a lot of different resources, but it didn't have a funding mechanism. So I said, let's change that. And so that's something we were able to create together with John Chappie from our team, with Buffy Ski, the director of Main Street, and then with our Oklahoma Development Finance Authority. We created that P3 program, and we opened the application last October. 10 communities applied, 9 out of 10 were awarded. And so they'll be tangible. Wow. You can go see them, touch them, feel them projects.
And to watch this come to life, that's so rewarding.
Yeah. So it's just
such a great purpose. I mean, you're in the right position for, your skills
That's
and
crazy,
everything
right?
that you want to do.
Isn't it cool how God like brought
Yeah.
all of these different things together? Then the next thing is small business and entrepreneurship and our incubators. That's also under core. And so, of course, small business runs the world. You know, it's an incredible part of the economy. Businesses that have 500 employees or less are considered small business. People don't always think about that. Businesses who even have, 100 locations are still considered emerging. And so a lot of we just completed OIEP. We had 266 applicants for Oklahoma Innovation Expansion Program, and that P3 program. We had 201 out of the 266 who got awarded. And so that means incentive dollars that were going for expanding those businesses right here in the state. And so I'm thrilled that I get to be part of that. It's really good work, and it makes an impact for people that I'll never get to meet, but I love that. I kind of love that. And so that's what CORE does. And then EDGE is Economic Development, Growth, and Expansion. And Evan Brown is the director that was appointed for that. We work hand in hand, but he is the recruiter. So if you think about CORE, it's the people that are here. It's developing the people, the relationships, the businesses that are here to survive and thrive and expand. And EDGE is that recruitment arm. So it's bringing new business to the state.
Okay, that's great.
So we work hand in hand because you have to have the fertile soil, of course, to bring that new business in. So he does a great job. And then now this session, the governor's appointed a CEO, and that was part of the legislation that passed with the new department organizational structure of commerce, which has CORE, EDGE, and then has a CEO. And so right now, I will continue to be the deputy CEO and then executive director of CORE, and then John Budd will be the new CEO. We're just waiting for his confirmation to go through.
Oh, good.
And then Deborah Morad is the newly appointed Secretary of Commerce. So the secretary serves on the cabinet.
Okay.
And so she would be the Secretary of Commerce, but also OCAST and also kind of work with tourism some, I believe, as well, because we definitely work together a lot with tourism. So anyway,
Okay.
So that's kind of some structure in case people wondered, what is this? Because it was just changed.
Right.
This was just changed last year. Yeah.
Okay, so what's a day in the life like? Because you are doing some crazy important things. You still have your music school, right? You still have these two teenagers that, are keeping you busy. So what's a day in the life like?
Well, it's different every day. So yesterday, for example, we had a wonderful, exciting celebration of CBC Global Ammunition, which I think was the very first letter of support that I worked on with the governor, which is an ammunition manufacturing plant, which will be a Mid-America Industrial Park in Pryor.
Okay.
And it'll have 350 new jobs that come to the state. And so I spent time going to that celebration and presenting a certificate to them from the governor and lieutenant governor, and just celebrating now that that's actually going to come to fruition. And the other thing that I did was I was in a board meeting for the Oklahoma Manufacturers Alliance. Today I get to be with you, and then after this I'm going to be at OU Polytech to work on some P3 program options that we have for workforce and education development. So to bring some resources to them so they can utilize this program and make this very successful for the state and for OU. And so it's everything from working with the university to working with a company coming in to working with the community and working with a small business owner or an entrepreneur, someone wonderful like yourself. So it's very diverse. The days are dynamic and change quite a lot.
Which is so fun. I mean, you're not doing the same thing every day. And people probably love seeing you because you're connecting them with tools or resources that, they wouldn't have otherwise. So you're making a huge difference.
I love seeing them. I love it. Every community. So what's different about this role from Jinx? Jinx was just incredible. And you just feel like you know everybody. It's just beautiful. Yeah. You feel like it's a family. What's fun about this role is that you get to see that in every little community and larger communities across the state. And every single community has something unique about them that sets them apart. And they take pride in their community. So it's very heartwarming work to go and see and then just ask the question, what's the hurdle? What's holding your community back from whatever it is that you're hoping to accomplish next? Okay, how can we work together? If there's a tool, let me share with you about it. If there's not a tool yet, maybe let's see how we could create it together.
Right.
And let's help you be successful. And so I love it. I absolutely love working with people. So communities are just made up of people. The state's just made up of communities. Right. So it's just all,
it's perfect. It's perfect.
I feel really honored and humbled to have this opportunity. It's a lot of driving, so I do a lot of reading.
Right. So you're going basically Oklahoma City 3-4 days a week?
Yes.
Yeah.
So usually 4 days a week right now. And I try to be in Northeast Oklahoma on Fridays, and I stack my schedule really packed. But we're working on, hopefully, this would be very exciting. I can't probably make the full announcement yet, but we're working on having a commerce presence in Northeast Oklahoma and Tulsa.
That would be great.
And not just for me, but we in the past had one. People don't know that. But we actually used to be at 36 Degrees North. We had a membership. And before that, we were at OSU Tulsa and had project managers. And if you think about everything that's happening in Tulsa, it's huge.
Right.
Yeah. And so we want to have our project managers, our rural and regional development folks to have a place to call home here. Also just to have all of our materials here for folks like yourself to say, hey, you're working with someone great. They're having a challenge. Hey, let's go over and see Heather. She's just right down the street. She'll give you some resources and just have that access and have that presence that says, Commerce cares just as much about Northeast Oklahoma as any other part of the state.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what's next for you? If you had to say there's a bucket list thing that you haven't done, is there anything out there?
What's next, I think, is getting my kiddos graduated.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I have a senior deal. 2 years in a row. Yeah. And everyone tells me that's going to be a little bit hard. I've not gone through that yet. So I don't know what that feels like.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that'll be a new experience, because I'm very close with my kiddos and, of course, like everyone. And so I'm excited for their independence, but also I'm sure that'll be...
It's bittersweet. Yeah. You're so happy for them and they're so excited, but then there's like that just sad as a mom,
Yeah, you're like that season's over.
I know, yeah.
But anyway, so I think, I can see that coming. And then as far as career, I don't know. I ask myself every day, and I truly do this. I ask, how can I contribute today, truly? And then what can I learn? And I think as long as I'm challenged enough and I feel like there's always something to learn, then that keeps me very fulfilled. And as long as I can always feel like I'm adding real value, like tangible, you can see it, touch it, feel it, it's going to actually be fruitful for someone, value, then I'm happy. And if there's a time that I feel like I've done my part, then I know God will open a different door or direct me in a different way. But right now, I do feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I do feel challenged every single day.
Yeah,
there's a lot to learn.
Right.
And I do feel like I have something of value to contribute. And so I think that's, as long as I'm doing those two things, I count it successful. And
definitely. Well, we are so honored that you came and took time today because you are so busy and, to come be with us and all of that. And I just appreciate you and I'm proud of you. I'm like, wow, you've done way more than I even knew. So
well, I'm so proud of you and thank you for having me. This is an honor and I love it. It also let me have a day in Tulsa. So
there you go. That works.
I love
great.
it. Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Very fun. Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Do It My Way podcast. If you're wanting to build a personal brand, but you aren't sure where to start, I want you to book a discovery call with me at deidredetterman.com. I hope you are empowered today to do business on your terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. Again, head over to deidredetterman.com and click on Get a Quote.